Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Superhero Finder podcast. As always, I'm your host, Matt Wilson, and I am always scouring the cosmos to find inspirational people, real-life superheroes. Some people don't realise they're superheroes. Some people do realise they're superheroes. But we like to know the motivation behind things that happen, kind of the resilience to be able to get through challenges, and just find out interesting things. Now, as always, if you're here to learn something for yourself, wonderful. But you might also be here to learn something for somebody else. So whatever your purpose is, thank you for joining us. And I'm in the Mattcave today with Hannah Armstrong. How are you doing, Hannah?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
That was so much energy. I love it. I'm going to have to match that now.
I'm happy to be here.
Good. Now, Hannah, would you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Because some people will know you, some people don't.
Yeah, so I'm Hannah. I'm from County Durham, and me and my younger brother Connor have decided to become TikTok creators. If you would call it that.
So how did that start then?
Sorry. How did it start?
Yeah.
Well, basically, Connor watches YouTube all the time. Like, that's his thing, watching YouTube. And he truly believes that. I don't know if you've heard of the Spy Ninjas.
Yes.
The creators on YouTube. It's like based for kids and stuff like that. That's their target audience. But Connor believes that these spy ninjas are real. So right. Real, and their safe house is real and everything. And he was dying to be a famous YouTuber. So we took the next best thing and decided to just make a TikTok video one day, and it started with just doing a Mother's Day video, wrapping presents for my mum that I'd bought. So that kind of blew up from there, and everyone was demanding Connor. We need more Connor. So
not Hannah, just Connor.
No, not Hannah. Every time I'm on live, no one wants it. They want Connor. So yeah, it just blew up from there.
Is there ever, because you guys come up with some crazy things, I've been following you guys for a while, and obviously we've sent messages and stuff, and just some of the stuff you guys get up to is hilarious. Do you find that making the content comes easy to you?
100%. Yeah. Like, this is normal in the house. Like, it's like a madhouse. It's completely normal for Connor to be doing a twerk in another room. You walk in on him and he's singing something like Linkin Park, all in his feelings, headbanging. Like, that is Connor. And the things he comes out with is just, a lot of them has to be cut out videos, to be honest, because it's so out there. But it's just Connor. Obviously, he's funny how he is, but yeah, nothing really goes into it. Just however he feels that day, that's what you're going to get, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, and it's, it's tough, and I think it's so endearing as well. And what I love, what I've always loved about you guys is Connor is disabled, and we've said this. So we've said this before we come on, and that leads to a lot of challenges.
Yeah, massive.
But what's amazing is the amount of love you guys get from the people that come in your lives, from the videos, and it's genuinely a channel that just makes you feel happy. Even then, you put some videos on explaining some stuff we're going to go into, but the majority of the stuff is just really uplifting, and kind of, you see that in the middle of a bad day and you're smiling from ear to ear.
Yeah, that's what we want to do as well. Like, I didn't want any form of negativity surrounding the page, especially when it comes to Connor. Obviously, he's a vulnerable, disabled person as it is. So if he doesn't want to do a video one day, say, obviously, he's got boundaries as well.
Yeah.
So we won't do a video if he's not in the mood, or if he's had a bad day, or if he's feeling low. But when he's having a great day and he can't wait and he wants to do this video and he wants to do that video, like, that's what our page is about. So that was my main thing about it, was just making people smile, and obviously showing that Connor's disabilities doesn't define him as a person either. Like, he's such a happy-go-lucky child. It's just good, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah, it is incredible. And I love the fact that you said that about the boundaries, because I find boundaries as a non-disabled person in terms of classification. I found boundaries really hard to have. And I think you respecting that, and him, whether he knows it, having those boundaries is superb.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm the same as yourself. Like, struggle so much with boundaries. I struggle telling people if they've done something that's hurt my feelings, but obviously I'm on the autistic spectrum myself.
Right.
So I was formally diagnosed in 2020, which obviously was a long time coming. I struggled through school and things like that, but definitely was setting boundaries as one of my biggest downfalls. I just really struggle to do it. So when everyone's like, we want Connor, I'm like, oh, okay. I don't feel like I can say no.
I mean, I suppose in some ways with TikTok, there's days where you'll make loads of videos, so I'm sure you'll save a couple behind, won't you, for times when you do that, and you can kind of get around that. But yeah, that's another challenge. Then, so did you know before you were formally diagnosed? Did you know? Were you curious about some of the things, some of your processes that obviously being on the spectrum brings?
Yeah. So my mum knew from when I was about 3 weeks old.
Right.
She knew. I couldn't wear shoes. I just the feeling of them. I wouldn't touch the grass. I wouldn't things like that. I wouldn't watch the telly. And then High School Musical came on one day, and I was glued. So I was absolutely obsessed. As soon as it came out, I watched all 3 of them on repeat. I wouldn't let turn them off because what you're doing, that's my time. So, and there was a big indicator in, oh, this is really embarrassing.
Go on, come on.
So when I was little, I used to wear this lovely headband to school, and there's a scene in High School Musical where Gabriella's like, I've got to go my own way, and they're singing, and Troy's like, what about us? So I used to make this poor little lad, bless him, like he probably still thinks about it, probably is traumatized. I used to force him to reenact it with us and sing it. So I taught him the song. He'd be Troy and I'd be Gabrielle, and I'd chuck my headband off and I'd run down the yard at school. So how that wasn't diagnosed earlier, or how none of my teachers were like, what is this child doing? She's done it 4 times in a 15-minute break. I'll have no idea, but it's just massive things like that. And I noticed I struggled with it massively in secondary school. I got quite badly bullied in year 7. So, and it was over, I have a mole on my back.
Right.
So the doctor said, look, you need to keep an eye on it. We need to make sure it doesn't turn cancerous. It needs checking on quite frequently. Gone into school and told my friend, I was like, oh yeah, this, that and the other happened. They'd said, just need checking on for cancer. Anyways, next day I'm being brought into an office. The teachers are all confused and concerned, making sure I'm okay, because it had gone round that I had cancer. Ugh. Well, obviously that wasn't the case at all, so I've had to clear it up. My mum's obviously said, like, no, that's not what was said. This is what was said. So it was cleared up with the staff, but then the students had turned quite mean about it, let's say. Not nice, but kids can be awful. So I was taken out of school by my mum because the bullying was so bad. And I was homeschooled until year 8. And then obviously when I'd went back into school in year 8, I'd gone to a different school because there was no going back there. Yeah. Just the same kind of thing. It wasn't bullying. It was more, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't sit for that long during the day. I didn't understand how the way of learning was working. And I think that's a really big downfall with schools in the UK. They only know how to teach you one way. They don't know how to deal with people who could be on the autistic spectrum, who could be ADHD. They don't take it into consideration. They label you as a naughty child, which I was in their eyes. So when that diagnosis came through, I was like, yes. Yes. But no, because it was such a relief. Like, I wasn't naughty then. I was autistic. Yeah. So they had not a leg to stand on, Matt. It was the most relief I've ever felt in my life. Yes. But yeah.
That's it. It's funny, it's all so sad, but it's funny as we get to know more about kind of neurodivergence and everything like that. The fact that you're labelled a naughty child, which is making an assumption and it's making a judgment on your character. Yeah. As opposed to it being, well, actually, this is just who you are. There's no intent. Yeah. You're not intending to disrupt people. It's just you don't know how to process being sat somewhere for a long time when your brain's going, I can't do this. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't do it, and that's all it was. But then when I couldn't do it, I was put down sets, and it was just like I was being made to feel really thick and stupid because all my friends were in the upper sets, and then I was like, they made a whole new set, and I think there was about 4 of us in it. So even that in itself was like, oh my God, like, why am I here? Why am I sat here doing this? Yeah. Like, you made to feel so bad. But coming out of it, I think, bloody hell, I've done well for being in that situation, in that type of environment. It's not many people would. No. Have you ever spoke about that on your channel? So I've not seen you speak about that.
No, I haven't. So Connor did decide to start saying, well, that autistic sister of mine. And then my mum would say something, so I'd say something back, and he's like, oh, she's just autistic, Hannah. That's all it is. Oh, Hannah, you're just autistic. So I thought, well, it's going to come out in one of the videos. He's going to end up saying it.
Yeah.
So I let him tell everyone, and that was his way of like, oh my God, look, I have an autistic sister. But now it's non-stop. He tells everyone. You go to the shops. It's not even. I'm like, oh my God, because I can't be like, no, I'm not. Like, I am.
Because it's the truth. But
yeah, all of his consultants, all of his specialists, everyone knows that I'm the autistic sister. But I've just never gone into detail about it, that's all. I did have a video ready to post, and I deleted it because I thought I'm not ready to tell anyone yet. Yeah. I knew for a year before I started telling anyone, because I don't know, I kind of felt embarrassed, but it wasn't really embarrassment that I was feeling. It was more of like, well, I don't know anyone with autism. And I wasn't on TikTok to know anyone else with autism.
Yeah.
And obviously when I got my diagnosis was just after my accident. It was in the midst of COVID. No one was helping me. Yeah. Like with everything going on. So there was no support given. There was no kind of like, oh, here you go, you can have a look at this to get some help. So I didn't speak about it because I think I've done a lot of hiding it well. Like a lot of people are like, yeah, I would never have thought. But a lot of people also think that an autistic person is someone who is mute and is like quite physically autistic.
Yes.
But it's not. It's called an autistic spectrum. Like there's a massive range of people with autism who have lots of different traits of it. So like for me, I do understand when people are like, yeah, I wouldn't have known, because I'm quite good at hiding it, but girls are better at masking them boys anyways. So that's why I thought, oh, I can get away with it on TikTok. Like, no. But I did have one commenter, and I've removed the comment before anyone knew. And it was like, she reeks of autism. I was like, oh, delete. I was like, oh my God.
Someone's radar was going off.
Yeah, I thought, how did he know? But yeah, that was the only comment I got. And then I thought, I may as well just put it out there at this point, since Connor, bloody loudmouth.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. the kind of kid that speaks his mind, right?
I know.
So do you find, well, you've just mentioned there, obviously it is a spectrum, so do you find that it has an effect that you need to work around on your daily life, or is it more something that's just ways you are better doing things?
It affects me massively, which is what no one says on TikTok. Hugely. So I was deemed unfit to work at the beginning of the year because it was so bad. So there's a lot of things that I can't do. I cannot do. I couldn't speak for myself to anyone. I couldn't go in the shop by myself. I just couldn't do it. I have obsessive thinking disorder, which goes hand in hand with the autism and severe health anxiety. So anything I'm doing, I'm like, right, I'm going to die. I have a pain, I'm like, right, I'm having a brain aneurysm, or me aneurysm in my heart's just burst, which I don't have. But I would convince myself of all these things. So I have been doing a lot of work on it. I mean, my health anxiety's not been as bad, but I've also not got a surgery coming up. I've not got worries about my health at the minute because I've been avoiding things. So I was supposed to have this doctor's appointment. I didn't. I just can't do it. There's a lot of things that I just can't do. And I've really struggled like making friends. I don't go out. I go out with me one friend that I have. That's it. I can't do it. I really can't. I really struggle in social situations, but you won't be able to tell. This is why it's so difficult to try and describe to people. I say I've been in a difficult situation, but I've acted completely normal, and I just act so normal, as though like I'm so fine. But then I'll come out of that situation and I'm sobbing. I don't know what to do. I need to go home. Like, I can't sleep out because I have such homesickness, which has been since I was little. I could never have sleepovers because I just wouldn't like being out of the house. Wow. But yeah, a lot of things really come into play with how much I struggle with autism, but a lot of people don't realise it. But that's that goes hand in hand with, just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there.
Yes.
People comment on it too much, but it's, of course, I'm in a 3-minute video. Why would I be sat crying? Because I've had a meltdown? Or, well, I did about that heat, but that was different. But say I had a health anxiety scare, or I've convinced myself I'm going to die. If I'm sat sobbing, I'm not going to put that on social media.
No.
I'm not going to put it on social media that I'm struggling to leave the house. So, but it's still there, do you know what I mean? And I don't think people think about things like that.
No, it's crazy, isn't it? Because it's almost, with social media, you see what you get. So we realise when we create stuff that it shows the bits that we want to be seen. So it'll be for a reason.
Yeah.
So your channel will be pretty much feel good stuff, funny stuff, real stuff, very real stuff. But it's for that reason, rather than a really deep one about neurodivergence or anything like that. It's got a purpose, doesn't it? And that's
definitely.
That consistency has made you guys really popular. But yes, there are people that maybe don't create their own content that look and think that is the absolute truth. That is 24/7. You guys are like that. Which, if anyone's not seen any of your videos, if you were like that 24/7, you'd need 10,000 calories a day to even exist.
We would. I'd be drinking energy drinks. I could not be around Connor for that long in a day and be like that with him, and he couldn't with me. That's just the top and bottom of it. Like, me and Connor, we bicker. We're brother and sister. Of course we bicker. We have little arguments. He tells me to F off and I'll tell him to F off. Just when we're sick. But then 5 minutes later, it's, oh, do you want to have a movie night? And he goes all sheepish because he knows that it was just a silly little argument. I mean, don't get us wrong, we're not smashing each other up, but we're certainly not all joyful and happy all the time, and that's just life. That literally is just life. No one's like that all the time. You couldn't be.
No. Well, firstly, thank you for going through and and explaining about the autism and stuff. I appreciate that, and I appreciate that you could. As well, because you did say that for a point you couldn't speak for yourself. So like, even being on here like now has a different feeling to me that you've been able to do so. And I've came so far from when I was a 15-year-old and I was crying because my mum's asked us to pop to the shop for a bloody loaf of bread and I couldn't do it. How old are you now, Hannah?
19. I'm 20 in October.
So actually, God, because lockdown was what, 2020? So, it's flown, hasn't it, since then? Feels like
really.
So you mentioned an accident. So you'd had an accident around that time as well. Now that, as well as what was going on in the world, that must have made things even more difficult. Want to just explain what went in there, what you learned from that?
I mean, that was a big difference in my life. That was a massive challenge, and that was a huge thing I've never been in hospital. Never. It's always been Connor, and we'll go and visit him in hospital after he's had his surgeries. Never me, never any of my other siblings. It's always been Connor. So it was Valentine's Day 2020. My friend had asked if I wanted to go out. I'd said, doubt it. We can go for a walk. So we'd gone, and she said her friends were somewhere. So we'd went down. Anyways, there was the biggest bonfire I'd ever seen in my life. What I didn't know is that there was a heap of plastic on that bonfire, and it had been burning for about 2 hours. So I texted my mum to go home while my friend was speaking to her friend, and I was stood. It wasn't really a distance away from the fire, but who'd have thought that this would have come of it? So I was speaking to another person. I won't obviously name names or anything. Everyone was underage at the time. It was all dealt with as well, and it was just an accident. Stood talking to another person who had stamped onto some part of the fire, which splashed all of the burning plastic all the way up my body. So I'd stopped, dropped and rolled. That works. Everyone needs to know that works.
Good.
I mean, I say I stopped, dropped and rolled. I done a front flip onto the floor and was like, what the hell? Because I didn't know that I'd been set on fire. I didn't know that what had happened. I just felt like something freezing cold had come all over my body.
Okay.
And then I realised I was up in flames. Like I was up in flames. My whole body was. So I'd stopped, dropped, and rolled, and ran over to two of the other people who were there for help. I'd laid down on the floor because my body was going into shock. My phone had been glued into my pocket off the burns, melting all my clothes to us. And I could smell my skin burning. It was so bad. No one phoned an ambulance though.
Really?
No one phoned an ambulance. Now, don't get us wrong, kids will be kids. And I'm not being funny. I've never seen someone get set on fire. So I don't know how I would react either, but I certainly would phone an ambulance. That's the main thing. It's everyone really let us down then. So I don't speak to any of them anymore. There was about 20 people there. No one phoned an ambulance. So instead, my friend phoned her mum, who picked us up, who I had to walk all the way down while my skin was still burning because plastic doesn't stop melting.
Nope.
And I'd have to get in the back of her mum's car, and she took me home. Instead of just going to the hospital, she took me home. So I've got the end of the drive and I'm screaming because the pain, but it wasn't real pain. It was like I knew my body was going into shock and I thought I was going to die. Well, I would have died, really, because your body can only handle so much stress, can't it? Especially with things like that, you are at high risk of dying anyways. So my mum swung the door open and she was like, oh my God. She couldn't believe, obviously, our 15-year-old was walking covered, skin melting all over. So she threw us in the back of the car and she laid us on the back seat and she drove straight to the hospital because it was quicker for us to get to the hospital than it would have been for an ambulance to come and then come back. So it was quicker for her to just drive us straight there. It's only about 15 minutes away. So I said to her in the back of the car, I said, Mum, I'm going into shock. I think I'm going to sleep. My body was just giving up on us.
Yeah.
And she was like, open your eyes. You need to open your eyes. Keep your eyes open. You need to stay awake. So I did, and I managed, and we got there and she threw us on her back and she's my height, my mum, bless her. She chucked us on her back and she ran all the way from one side of the hospital to the other, up the stairs and everything, and just dropped us on the floor in A&E and was like, I need help. Now, the hospital that is closest to us, they don't have a burns unit. So they were like, oh my God, started cutting my clothes off, putting a cannula in, had my hand under the sink because all my hand was melted. And then I'd look down because I'd seen everyone's faces going, oh my God, like, what the hell? So I'd look down and I'd realised how bad it was. And that was the first time I thought, oh my God, what is going to come of this now? So I was hysterical. Anyways, they put us on so much pain relief, gas in air, and they blue lighted us up to Newcastle RVI to their burns unit, where I'd had the burns scrubbed off with, them metal dish sponges that you get. That's what they basically scrub your burns off with to get the fresh tissue. And then they bandaged it and they put us to sleep. So I was asleep all during the night. Then they woke us up the next day, scrubbed them again. I was in hospital for 3 days getting them scrubbed continuously. All my hair was burned and everything. And obviously my mum couldn't stay with us because of Connor.
Yeah.
So Connor couldn't have stayed in the hospital. It was only one parent, one child, that type of thing, or someone over the age of 18. Connor couldn't have stayed. And obviously my mum being a single parent at the time, there was no form of support in place for her to be able to come and stay with me, obviously with Connor's complex medical needs. So that was kind of a weird situation, but at the same time, that couldn't have been helped at all. So they let me go home for a little bit to spend time with family before my surgery, and I had a skin graft and they let us go home the next day. Now, I knew something was wrong because the amount of pain I was in, and my body just didn't feel right, and I knew I was dying. So my mum phoned up the hospital and they said, oh my God, she was supposed to be in 2 days ago to have a look at the skin graft. You need to come in. We'd had on this piece of paper that they give us for an appointment for the 16th. Now it was the 10th. She said, no, you should have been in by now. You need to come in. We went in and the skin graft had failed and I had sepsis eating my whole body. Right. So they were like, oh my God, swabbed it, put us straight on antibiotics, and I was booked for an emergency surgery first thing in the morning because obviously they couldn't have done it on the night. Yeah. so I'd had the emergency surgery. That apparently all went well, but they'd had to take more skin away. Got a big scar on my thigh, upper thigh. I've got obviously Barbara, my little scar, and then my little scar on my ankle. But they were huge. When I'd come out of it, they were huge apparently, and they said like you really need to be prepared for what's going to look like now, because we've had to take so much dead tissue away that was infected. And then obviously the antibiotics was to treat the rest. So I thought everything was fine until I had the 3rd dose of antibiotics, and it sent us in this kind of tachycardic episode where my heart was 230. So all of a sudden went to 230, all of my face had drooped. I was on FaceTime with my mum and I couldn't do anything. All of a sudden I just couldn't do anything, and the heart monitor was going crazy, and my mum was like, press the emergency button. I couldn't move. So my mum was like, oh my God, I'd managed to, it dropped to about 40. So instantly I was like, whoa. Right. Managed to press it, the nurses come in, and then there was a couple more nurses she'd called for to come in, and this had happened, this was going on and off for the space of 7 hours. They'd rang for my mum to come in because my heart just wouldn't slow down. They'd had to take us off all pain relief in case it was that they had to stop the antibiotics, but then they determined obviously it was the antibiotics. So I've had a heart condition ever since. I've had more surgery on my leg to make it look smaller. And obviously because it was in 2020, it was obviously the lockdown. I was in hospital in the start of the lockdown. So when they discharged us, because I had to learn how to walk again and things like that, when they had discharged us, all they did was give us a piece of paper with like basically a mental health matters number on, and said, listen, if you feel like any sad feelings about how your leg looks, you need to ring them. And that was it. So just like, oh my God. But since then, I think that is where the health anxiety has stemmed from, the whole, oh my God, yeah, I could die. That's how quick it is. Yeah. That is really scary to me. So I think that's just what's happened. But I've got Connor at home, so that's a good thing to think, well, he's had it a lot worse than me. A lot of people have had it a lot worse, but at the same time I don't want to invalidate myself and kind of like push all these feelings away and be like, no, I don't care, because I hadn't came to terms with it. I realised that I was telling everyone this story about what had happened as though it didn't happen to me, as though I was telling a story about what had happened to someone else, because I was so detached from it. And then it finally all has hit us this year, and it's just really took its toll, to be honest. I've finally come to terms with it, but in the worst way, because I've let it lie there for so long in my subconscious, like that didn't really happen.
Oh yeah. Man, that resonates so much with me this year.
Yeah,
I've done it exactly the same with some of the stuff. There's no real time to go into it now, and I probably will on another episode. But again, traumas, these things that have happened, difficult things, and that explanation. I was having a therapy call, and it was the realization that when I was remembering back to these things, it was almost as if it had happened to somebody else.
Someone else, yeah.
And I felt sad for that person. It wasn't for me. Isn't that mad? But it wasn't for me, it was for that. And then as soon as I faced that, as in that was me, it was like, oh shit, that was really bad.
That was really bad, yeah. I was the same. Honestly, Matt, yeah, I was the same. I've been devastated about it since March.
Yeah. So you getting to the point now where are you getting more ready to move on from that? Or
yeah, I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because I started realising that I had a lot of resentment towards all of them people who didn't phone an ambulance.
Yes.
But they were young. Do you know what I mean? Like, I need to move on with my life now. I'm 19, I'm 20 in a few weeks. As I can be sad about it, and that's fine. I will have days where I'm like, oh my God, I wish that never happened. Like, what the hell? Obviously, still having to have surgeries this far on and having to go to cardiology appointments, bloody different GP appointments on different medications. Of course, I'm going to be like, what the hell? I wish it never happened. But at the same time, it's part of me now. Like, I know it's okay that it's happened.
Well, it's that thing that it's in the past, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's in the past and it's happened, so we can't change what it's just, we can change how we, I suppose, see it and what part it plays in our life. So I mean, I'm just kind of reflecting on what you just told me there. That happened when you were 15, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, ish. Something around there.
Ish. Yeah, maybe it's 15, 16. I don't really remember.
It doesn't really matter. You were obviously younger than you are now. And just for you to be able to reflect on that and to still say people were young, you know, they made the decisions, they didn't call for help from me.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a that's okay. And I wondered whether, if I'm okay asking, is that still a bit of a defense mechanism, or is that true acceptance, do you think?
I think that might just be a defense mechanism. I'm just going to be completely honest, because I don't know how else to handle that. Like, it really boils us, the fact that no one helped. No one helped. And they were covering my eyes while looking at me burning skin, going, but they didn't phone an ambulance. So what part in their brain, if I feel like if I seen someone get set on fire, I'd be like, holy shit, I'd be straight on the phone to an ambulance. Like, I'd watched two of my best friends get hit by a car in school. I phoned an ambulance straight away.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But at the same time, I know I can't spend my life angry at people for not being better. I know I can't. So it's like, right, so how do you get past that kind of negative feeling towards it? I think I'll always have a negative feeling towards it, because I'm not going to be like, oh my God, that was so good that no one phoned an ambulance. When would that happen? So I think it's just getting on with it, but knowing that I'm not a fan of the situation, and I would not have reacted like that if I seen something like that happen to someone else.
I thought so, and that's why I wanted to ask, because it's so tough. It's so tough trying to accept it. People sometimes get acceptance mixed up, because acceptance isn't saying that something was right.
No, because I accept that it happened.
Yes.
I'm just fuming.
Yeah. Because I did a podcast a couple of episodes ago with Miranda, and one of her big points was acceptance is ultimately being kind to yourself, because it's trying to find a way to let that feeling, that anger, go, to process it.
Yeah.
And whether it's putting energy into educating people more on, you know, when to call an ambulance, you know, that would be a very specific of that kind of feeling, or just things like this, like spreading your story, kind of making people aware. Then it puts it onto people's minds that actually, what would I do? Would I ring an ambulance? Like what? And being comfortable with that process as well, because the thing is with fire, it's scary, isn't it? It's inherently kind of, oh my God, like, but yeah. So hopefully at some point, I think we'll find a way to do that, and maybe actually it'll become that true acceptance as well. But I definitely think as a defense mechanism, we're like, when I talk about superheroes, it's like just sticking on a suit of armor, in it, and just going, right, come on.
Yeah, it literally is. Everyone says, oh my God, you've handled it so well. And I'm like, not really. God, I could have handled it so much better.
Could you?
Like, so much better.
How could you have handled it any better?
I don't know. In my mind, though, I feel like I can't. I could have. Like, in my mind, I'm like, well, you could have just accepted it. I'm like, but I hate when people say that, like, have you come to terms with it yet? What do you mean? Oh, yeah, look, there you go, I've come to terms with it. It does not happen like that. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. Anyone who says that they have came to terms with something in the space of 2 weeks is a liar. That is such a lie, unless it's something tiny, you know, like maybe your nail appointment got cancelled and you've came to terms with it, fair enough. But saying I've come to terms with getting set on fire, no, I haven't. Yeah, I might be nearly 19 and when I was 15, I don't care. But I'm dealing with it in my own way. It wasn't healthy ignoring it, and I do fully accept that, and I know that. But at the same time, when this had all happened, it was all over the news. It was all over all these little media outlets, and it was so far from the truth. And they had all the comments on, I was a child, and there's grown adults commenting saying, oh, play with fire and you get burned. How ugly is she going to be on our wedding day? This, that, and the other. That is not normal. How the press and the media are allowed to do things like that is beyond me. So no wonder I couldn't get over it, because things like that happen.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. But it was on TFM radio. It was on it's on the Manchester Evening News. It's on everything. If you Google teenager set on fire on Valentine's Day, it's there with my face plastered all over it. And there's about 3 different stories, I think.
Okay. Were any of them close to the truth?
Not really. I think there's one, but I actually did an interview for that, but it wasn't really an interview. I kind of put a post up and she was like, oh, can I do a story on this? I was like, what do you mean? It then went up. So I didn't know what, if someone messages you saying, can I do a story on this? Like, in my mind, it's like, what do you mean about doing a story? Obviously, I didn't think you're going to put it in a bloody news outlet or a media outlet. I thought maybe like, I don't know what I thought, to be honest. Just in my mind, it wasn't what it was.
Yeah.
But she went ahead with it and she done what she did with it. It's just a shame because I obviously was a child at the time, and why would you do that with a child? I don't understand it.
I don't understand it either.
No. But hey ho.
Well, I think if you ever fancy writing a book or doing a series of videos, I think that'd be very educational for people. So maybe that's
everyone says that. Yeah.
Get the truth out there and tell everyone about the media.
Well, I'm gonna have to.
maybe this could be the catalyst.
It needs to be.
You've seen it here. Guys, this is the next J.K. Rowling, so she was on here first. So what I'm interested in, so you've been through this period, especially difficult, and there'll have been challenges before them, no doubt. Now that you've kind of got into a routine with your TikToks and stuff, and you've got how many followers at the minute?
I think 200,000.
That's a lot of people.
240,000, I think.
So what does the future look like for you? Does that include the TikTok, carrying on doing that? What does it look like in terms of, your life, in terms of, I don't know, getting a job or making money, or I don't know, just what does it look like for you? What have you got planned?
So I do want to carry on with the TikTok for Connor's sake. Obviously you can't do it alone, so you'd need to do it with me, and obviously that is how we've been doing it, Hannah and Con. So yes, I will make TikToks with Connor until his heart is content. I will make TikToks with him when we old grannies. But I do need to get my health stuff sorted before I can think about doing anything like work related, because it's too unsafe. I couldn't even go to college because of things like health and safety. They've got to make sure, because I was just passing out all the time. Just with my heart condition and things like that, and I've got low blood pressure, but I've got surgeries to get. I've got about 2 to 3 more surgeries I'm supposed to be having this year, and they've just been cancelled left, right and centre. Obviously I need to figure out what medications I need, how all my conditions are going to be medically managed, and if them medications are even going to be suitable, because obviously they can have adverse effects and stuff. But yeah, do you know actually what I really wanted to do though? I wanted, because I've never seen anything like this, and my thing before I was set on fire was dancing. Like, oh my God, I loved it. Any type of dancing, and I'd go to dance all the time. That had to obviously stop. With my limited mobility, it's not been a thing that I can go back to. And just with my heart and things like that, it's too strenuous. So that really has took its toll on us. I think this year is really something that I've been struggling with not being able to do. So I wanted to teach disabled kids how to dance, and because I've not seen anything like that. But just to give that release, like for me it was such a release, just dancing, like, and the music and stuff like that, it massively helped us. Like if I was having a bad day but I knew I had dance later on, I didn't care about the bad day. Like I'd get it all out with me dancing. So just to give that sort of release to people who have special needs, things like that, wheelchairs, welcome. You can still dance with your arms, you can still feel the music. I would push the kids around in wheelchairs, me. Oh yeah, I would. I'd teach them how to do pirouettes the lot. I love it, and I love that idea of it. But obviously it's getting there. It's not going to happen overnight. No. And especially with my health and things like that, that's something that I've got to take into consideration before I'd ever think about doing something like that. But it's something that I need to do in my soul. Like I need to do it. And Connor, he loves dancing, as you can tell.
Well, the famous
S-shaped scoliosis. He jumps about. He shouldn't, but God bless him, he does.
Well, I think it's really important that you just keep hold of that then, and just keep that in your future, because that will not only give you, it could give you a lot of motivation, but actually it's something clearly you're passionate about. And being a driving force, because not everything's gonna, the rough goes with the smooth anyway in terms of any kind of stuff. But I think that's incredible. So if by chance anyone's listening that's done anything similar to that and knows and has a little bit of knowledge on how to set up, this is the chance to get in touch with Hannah. So if somebody does listen, then they can get in touch. One question that I like to ask everybody, because I say I don't prepare questions, but I always prepare one question because I'm a fibber, and it is based on my love of superheroes. And I'm sure this would be a different conversation if Connor was here as well. But Hannah, we are talking to you. If you could have any superpower in the world, what would it be, and what would you use it for? This is a bit where the big clock should start ticking. 10 minutes later.
So like how Jesus used to heal people? I think I'd be Jesus. And I think I'd just make everyone better. There's nothing worse than seeing people struggle. I wish someone like Jesus would have helped me when I was in hospital. God, where was he then? Do you know what I mean?
Question. Yeah. Where was he?
Evil. Where was he? Put the letters down. But just to help people, just things like there's awful things in the world, like bloody cancer, things like that. Yes. I'd just take it away. I'd take it away from everyone, and I'd just make everyone be really healthy. I think that's about it. That's the only superpower.
That's a grand power, that,
It is, isn't it?
Maybe that could be the new part of the Avengers.
The Hannah.
Hannah the healer.
Hannah the healer. Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for your time. I think we are running out of time, but I would like to ask you if anybody wants to follow the antics of yourself, of Connor, where can they find you?
It's at Hannah and Con on TikTok and Instagram, and obviously anyone can give us a message anytime, really, as well. Messages are open.
Lovely. Thank you for that.
No worries.
Guys, thank you for listening. Again, this is episode 103. I'm very thankful for everyone that supports me, especially my patrons, Lucy and James, for helping support me do this and continue to grow this. I'm thankful to be able to get, finally, in touch with people like Hannah. It's only taken a little while, but we'll keep that. Not a secret now, is it? But I'm just glad, I'm just glad because all the challenges you face and stuff, it's about doing it in your own time. And that was always important to me anyway. So thank you everyone for listening. If you are just listening but you're not seeing on video, because this is on Spotify and YouTube, then you'll see a link above my head, which is patreon.com/thekindeststrongman. Now that is a way that you can help support me carry on this podcast. As a small creator, as Hannah probably knows, you don't make anything from this, so it's really just a passion project. It's really getting the word out there. So you're able to do that for as little as the price of a coffee, really. So if you are interested in that, you can have a look at that. And that just leaves, from myself and from Hannah, I wonder if she's going to know the two words I'm going to say.
Oh no, I don't.
Just say just after me, and then it'll hide it, and I'll edit it. Okay. Stay super.
Stay super.